Hello and welcome back to this Library of Ruina series. In this video, we'll be covering the last three general receptions: Mirae Life Insurance, the Leaflet Workshop, and Bayard's office. These receptions have some strong combat and key pages, so let's get started. Mirae Life Insurance requires 1 row 2 or 3 Starve the City book and gives you Irina. She has 96 HP, 59 stagger, is slash and blunt damage injured, and has 4 passives. Speed 3, Insurance Benefits, which restores 1 light when the character takes a one-sided attack once per scene. Policy Form, which removes all stacks of either Feeble, Disarm, or Binds that would be inflicted to the character the next scene. And Life Insurance, which is untransferable, and at the end of the scene, if the character has 30% or less HP, adds a copy of Life Insurance to hand once per act. Policy Form is the most situational, but can be really useful in certain receptions, so keep your eyes out for fights that have a lot of Feeble, Disarm, or Bind. Other than that, Insurance Benefits can help supplement your light in a similar way to Gloria's Easygoing Breather. Life Insurance has a really unique effect. Getting to 30% HP means you're going to be quite low, but Life Insurance is a really strong page. It's a 4-cost mass individual rolling 7 to 10, and on hit inflicts 2 Disarm, Bind, and Feeble, as well as recovering 2 HP. If this hits all 5 targets, you'll recover 10 HP, which isn't nothing, and the status amounts are really strong as well. The reception also gives you 5 new pages that synergize with discard. First is Switcheroo, which has 2 very poor rolls, but upon getting discarded, the user draws a page. There isn't much difference between this page, Stay Calm, and Relay, as if you need to use this page to clash or free hit, you're going to be really sad. I'd still say Relay is the best of the 3, but this page is better than Stay Calm at least. Insurance coverage is similar. The rolls are a bit better compared to Switcheroo, and instead of drawing a page, it restores a light. This is the first page of this type and works well with hand discard effects, much like pages that draw upon discarding do. Equivalent Exchange is a 2-cost with a 4 to 7 evade, 4 to 8 blunt, 3 to 8 blunt that on use discards a random page from the hands to restore 1 light. Additionally, the first blunt inflicts 2 bleed on clash win, and the second inflicts 2 bleed on hit. The range of this page is quite solid even for a 2-cost, especially considering it can inflict up to 4 bleed and has dice type consistency. Of course, you need to discard a page, but if you're running insurance coverage or have margin, then this page can put in some serious work. Final Stroke is a strong bomb page that rolls 6 to 7 blunt, 4 to 10 block, 8 to 21 blunt. Additionally, the last blunt die will inflict 5 bleed on clash win, and on use, the damage of the page gets boosted by 1 for each page in hand, but then you discard all pages after that. The rolls are quite powerful, especially that 8 to 21, so if you can find a way to minimize the effect of discarding your hands like Switcheroo and friends, then you can have a very powerful discard engine. Finally, we have Multi-Party Compensation, which is exclusive to Arena's page. This 2-cost has pretty bad rolls, but when discarded, all other allies restore 1 light. If you're running a regular Arena discard deck, then you're almost certainly running this page because although you still don't want to be casting this page, restoring 1 light to all other allies is quite strong. If you're spamming discard all pages from hand cards though, you might not have enough slots to run it. Just keep in mind that it doesn't help the user, so be sure to have enough insurance coverage to keep up. Next, the Leaflet Workshop requires 2 row 2 or 3 Starve the City books and gives us Yai. They have 94 HP, 50 stagger, are pierced, damage, and slash stagger injured, and have 6 passives. Speed 3, Puffy Broom, Smoke Overflow, which gives the character 1 strength if they have 8 or more smoke at the end of the scene. Excess Supply, which makes the character deal 3 additional damage with attacks if they have 10 or more smoke. Immediate Repairs, which fully recovers stagger resist upon getting staggered for the first time each act. And Madness, which gives 1 of 4 effects at the start of each scene between 2 strength, 2 haste, 2 endurance, or 5 fragile. Immediate Repairs is a huge role player in solo play and is fairly strong in standard play, especially for only 2 points. Smoke Overflow and Excess Supply work well with other smoke passives as you might believe. Madness is an interesting case, as its ceiling is massive, granting 2 strength for 2 points, but the times you get hit with 5 fragile you're going to feel pretty miserable. This reception gives us 6 new comment pages that focus on smoke generation and infliction. Test Run is a 0-cost with poor rolls that gives the user 3 smoke on use. There are better smoke generation cards that don't suck, and it kind of feels like PM forgot to add Restore 1 light on hit to one of the dice. Smoke Blow is next. It has a 4 to 8 block, then a 5 to 8 blunt that on hit inflicts 3 smoke and restores 1 light. This also gives the user 3 smoke on use. This page has the same roll average as All Out War, and has the upside of sometimes being a pseudo 0-cost, so it's not terrible, but not my favorite smoke page either. Smoke Smash has a 4 to 8 evade and a 6 to 9 slash that inflicts 2 smoke on hit. Additionally, on use, if the user has 9 or more smoke, all of the dice on the page gain 2 power. When empowered, this evade dice is the strongest in the game, being able to keep it fresh, sturdy defense, in a page we haven't seen yet, so if you can consistently get the empowered version, then it's solid. If not, then it's just alright. This page fairly easily transcends 1 cost value page syndrome in a dedicated smoke deck. Smoke Prick is next. It has respectable rolls and gains a total of 3 smoke and inflicts a total of 5 smoke thanks to the offensive dice having on hit effects. This is just a generically solid page for smoke decks, but nothing incredible. Field Mods is an interesting page. The roll is obviously pretty abysmal, but on use it lowers the cost of all pages in hands by 1. I don't really know how to feel about this page because lowering the cost of pages can enable some pretty nutty strategies, but playing the page takes most of your librarian's turn, which is bad. Being single use means you only need to use it once, but it also means you can't stack the cost reduction. I would say that the reward it provides is worth having to play a bad page, but I could definitely be wrong about that. Finally, Exhale Smoke is exclusive to Yai's page and is a 4 cost with a very strong blunt, a mediocre block, and a very strong slash. Additionally, on use, the character gains 8 smoke, and the blunt die inflicts 3 smoke, then if the target has 5 or more smoke, inflicts 3 paralysis. This seems like a very strong self-smoke payoff, almost immediately giving you max smoke. The rolls are also quite good, so overall I'm pretty impressed by this page. Finally, Bayard's office requires 3 Road 2 or 3 Starve the City books and gives you Bayard. He has 96 HP, 49 stagger, is slash and blunt damage endured, and has 4 passives. Speed 3, offensive position, which gives the character 1 strength and 3 fragile at the start of each scene. Sight Cup, which restores 1 light and draws 1 page at the end of the scene if the character didn't use any pages, and Ready Position, which gives 1 strength, 2 protection, and 2 stagger protection to the character if they suffer from immobilization. These passives are supposed to work well together, but it's contingent on getting immobilized, which is not a very good thing to have happen to you. Other than that, Offensive Position is a somewhat risky, but fairly effective passive to improve your offensive clashing potential. This reception also gives you 6 combat pages. Wedging Thorn is almost identical to Frontal Assault. It has half a power more on the second die and inflicts a fragile, which you might say makes it strictly better, but it loses the guaranteed emotion coin that having a 1-2 had. Overall, both are solid and Pierce focused decks, but that's about it. Cleaver Cross is another page trying to be all-out war, but trades a sizable portion of power in the emotion coin to inflict 1 paralysis on hit, making it pretty mediocre. Faultless Strike is a little better, having a slightly stronger roll average, and inflicts 2 fragile instead of 1 paralysis. Overall though, none of them are very good. Knockback has a fairly solid roll average and a fragile effect, but no dice type consistency. It's not terrible, but it's no Fiery Dragon Slash. The story is similar to Great Sling, which has the same roll average, but slightly worse dice placement and type, and 1 paralysis instead of 2 fragile. Again, not terrible, but not really something I like to add. Finally, Ready Position is unique to Bayard and is a 3 cost that on play immobilizes itself, gives 3 strength next scene, and adds a copy of Pinpoint Breakthrough to hand. Pinpoint Breakthrough is a 2 cost single use page that rolls 5 to 10 blunt, 15 to 24 pierce. Additionally, the blunt inflicts 1 paralysis, and the pierce spends all stagger resists to deal bonus stagger damage equal to the amount spent. Note that this will also stagger your librarian. Overall, you're immobilizing yourself to get a page with admittedly high rolls, but that page also staggers your librarian, so you end up losing 2 turns just to use this page, which means you probably end up doing less damage than you would have if you had just played normally, and you'll also have taken more damage, restored less light, drawn fewer pages, and have fewer emotion coins, so overall I have no idea what you're supposed to do with this page. It sucks. For deck building, we have some new ideas. Discard is back on the menu, and while it's not the best deck, it's a lot of fun and can produce some really silly results. You don't need to use Arena to make it work, and I'd highly recommend using the Hanafuda passives on whoever you put this deck on. There's also a more standard discard deck that you could run which has a lesser chance of backfiring and leaving you with no clashing pages. Next, we can use some of our new smoke pages to good effect. I'd recommend keeping this on Yai due to the power of Exhale Smoke, but of course, smoke is often better at multiples, so if you replace Exhale Smoke with something like Deep Drag, then it can fit on anyone. To be honest, I really don't like the Bayard office cards or pages. In my opinion, none of the combat pages are good enough to create any new archetypes, but they aren't bad enough to just completely write off. I don't really have a build to recommend for Bayard other than generic value, and I wouldn't even use his pages, so that's really saying something. In the next video, we'll be starting the last chapter, Imperitas Civitatis. I'll see you soon, and as always, thank you for watching.